Susan, thank you very, very much. I mean, I suppose, in a roundabout way, sanity has prevailed, has it?
In a very roundabout way, yes, but it's quite clear that this was something that could have been forestalled, that people were warning about. We had signs at a rally recently saying, "We told you so." And, you know, it's still not perfect in Scotland. We still have 5 male people in women's prisons who are exceptionally violent criminals, and they are not going to be moved as far as we're aware.
OK, all right. And just when it comes to this now, do you really think if it wasn't for campaigners like yourself, or if it wasn't for, you know, getting a certain amount of coverage, for example, if there wasn't a controversy whipped up about it, what would currently be happening is that today, quite possibly, we would be seeing a man with bits intact going into a sex offender as well, as must be said, going into a woman's prison, and, you know, that would have just been fine. It would have gone under the radar.
Yes, and, you know, we're only in February, and this is only one of 3 cases involving individuals who've identified as trans that have come to court this year. So, you know, there's quite a few that could have been heading towards women's prisons, but for the outcry about this. I think, you know, that picture of Graham Bryson outside the court in the leggings was a bit of a game changer as far as that was concerned. But, you know, it's still an issue, and we still need clarity on the rest of the people in the Scottish Prison Service, because the Scottish Prison Service have not updated their guidance properly really at all yet.
Can I just ask you this? It is relevant, obviously. I hope you appreciate the tone in which I mean it. But let's just say that Isla Bryson goes into the man's prison and suffers as a result of being a transgender woman, whatever the correct terminology is now. How would you feel about that?
Look, I think prisons, especially for men's prisons, are very dangerous places, or can be very dangerous places. They're not always. And there are men in there who are exceptionally vulnerable. We know that gay men, young men, weak men, old men, men with learning disabilities are at risk, at heightened levels of risk. And we really need to make sure the prison service keeps those people safe. And that is why they do have wings for vulnerable prisoners. And so they should be able to cope with someone like Bryson within that structure, because they already have a structure for coping with vulnerable men in male prisons.
You know, one thing that I think has escaped a lot of attention in all of this, which is that this individual has been sentenced for rape, 2 women, and the sentence is 8 years. I mean, that in itself is not a particularly long time for the crimes. If you ignore all the guff about whether or not this individual is well, I can't even believe I'm asking now, whether or not they're a man. I mean, we all know the reality there. But, you know, if we ignore all of that, right, I mean, 8 years for 2 rapes sounds pretty mediocre, to say. They're paltry sentence, isn't it?
Well, and he won't serve that. You know, he could well be out in half that time. And the thing that really worries me is what happens when he comes out, because yes, he's in a male prison now, so that's good. So we can be pleased about that. But when he comes out, will he be allowed to claim that he's a woman in a hospital? Will he be allowed to go to a women's shelter? The judge has said, I think, that he'd be supervised for 3 years on release, but I don't know what that means. You know, this is somebody who has already put himself into a college with a lot of teenage girls and took advantage of that and watched them getting undressed and all this sort of thing. So, you know, going forward, will he be in that position where he is just self-declaring himself to be a woman and he's allowed to get away with it?